Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're like most people listening, you consider yourself a skeptical learner.
You have to be.
You look at the global information space, especially, geopolitics, and you just know you have to filter out the noise. You're already suspicious of legacy media, government briefings.
And definitely the big tech platforms. You're actively looking for something that feels more, well, unfiltered.
And that skepticism, which is totally rational, by the way, is the exact vulnerability that modern influence operations are now built to exploit.
It's a classic move. When trust in your own institutions goes down, a vacuum opens up. And people start looking for alternative voices. Voices that sound independent, authentic.
They feel like a friend telling you a secret, not a state pushing a doctrine.
Exactly. And that vulnerability is the absolute bullseye for the psychological operation we're breaking down today. We've got the sources, we've got the investigation docs, and our mission is to analyze one very specific segment.
It's from the Russia Up Close project, a segment called I'll Tell You What, hosted by a guy named Eddie Gonzales.
And what we're doing is decoding the messaging. It's engineered, really, to recruit a very specific type of person. The Western skeptic, the conservative, the ex-military member.
And even the conspiracy addict.
Yeah.
It's an operation designed to make you feel seen, to make you feel validated, and ultimately to make you feel chosen.
We have to set the stage here, though. This didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Right. There's a strategic context. After the 2022 invasion, there were these huge, sweeping bans on Russian state media.
RT, Sputnik, all of them. The EU, US platforms like YouTube and Meta, they just shut down the established delivery system to the West, basically overnight.
So the challenge wasn't just, where do we post our videos now?
No, not at all. The challenge was structural. They had to reinvent the entire system. They couldn't use the old RT branding. They needed something that looked, for all intents and purposes, independent.
Civilian, non-state aligned.
Precisely. To get around all those filters and moderation systems that were now, on high alert for the RT signature.
And from everything we've been reviewing, Russia Up Close is that next generation solution. It's not just a YouTube channel. It's a piece of highly sophisticated, precision-engineered trust.
So let's start with the face of it, this calculated persona, Eddie Gonzales.
He's built, really constructed, to appeal to that disillusioned Western listener. He calls himself a traveler, a storyteller.
Yeah.
But what's the hook?
The hook is his background. He constantly emphasizes his 30 years as a Texas lawman.
Wait, hold on. Not just a travel blogger. They specifically went for a former law enforcement officer from Texas. That's incredibly specific. What does that do?
It gives him instant perceived authority for a certain audience. People who value the military, law enforcement, a conservative worldview. He's not some academic. He's not a journalist.
He was part of the system.
Exactly. So when he says he's seeing things with fresh eyes, it just hits different. It bypasses all that intellectual skepticism.
And that connects right into how he frames the whole segment. He says he'll call things the way I see them with fresh eyes, in plain old common sense.
It's an open rejection of complexity. He's telling you, you don't need a fancy degree for this. Just trust your gut.
And that's the setup for his big idea, his central rhetorical device.
This shift from the old military-industrial complex, the MIC, to his new creation, the information-industrial complex, the IIC.
And he says this new one is quieter, smarter.
And far more dangerous than the old one made of tanks and bombs.
You know that phrase, IAC, is so much more potent today than MIC. Tanks feel like history. Algorithms and NGOs, that feels like my life right now.
Absolutely. And he lists the components, right? The algorithms deciding what you see, NGOs that flag your opinions, billionaire foundations funding it all.
Government agencies in the shadows, social media apps enforcing the rules.
He's naming the villains you already suspect exist and wrapping them all up into one single pervasive enemy. It's a message that says, your suspicions were right all along, but the monster is bigger than you imagined.
And then he makes it personal. He makes the goal explicit. It's not about targeting big media companies.
No, he says the real target is you, the normal person. The guy with 200 followers, the mom in a Facebook group, the retiree.
That line is powerful.
Oh.
Your phone has quietly turned you into a frontline soldier in the information war, and you didn't even know it.
That's the foundation of the recruitment. It reframes your everyday scrolling and your skepticism as an act of unintentional combat. It tells you that you're special because you're under attack.
Okay, so let's unpack the core hooks he uses to make you feel like that frontline soldier. The first one is the simplest.
You are being silenced.
Right. He describes that feeling, when you post something completely ordinary, questioning a headline or, God forbid, a comment that's vaguely supportive of Russia or China.
And he details the mechanism of that censorship so it feels real. He says your reach collapses, your posts get throttled, comments just poof, vanish into the void.
It validates that feeling of, I know I posted that, why did nobody see it? But how does he explain the how? I mean, platforms have to moderate content, right?
Of course, but he externalizes it. It's not the platform making a decision, he claims. It's some NGO in London or DC funded by a billionaire.
Ah, the shadowy foreign entity.
Exactly. He says they scrape posts, generate these risk lists for advertisers, and then the platforms just fall in line to protect their brand safety. It's a clean, simple narrative with a clear external villain.
It's brilliant, rhetorically. It confirms your fear of shadowy forces and your distrust of corporate greed all at once.
Which leads right into the second hook, which is much more aggressive. It's meant to spark real fear.
It leads fear your voice.
Yes. Gonzales gets very specific. He claims that in America and Europe, regular people have had cops show up at their door.
Over what?
Over a joke.
Yeah.
A meme. A sarcastic comment that some algorithm or NGO decided was extreme.
That's a terrifying image to plant in someone's head. An algorithm flags you, and suddenly law enforcement is at your home.
And this is where he really leans on his persona. He says, as a former lawman, he knows this isn't policing. He says this is absolutely not what the First Amendment was written to protect you from.
He's drawing a straight line from quiet online suppression to a very real physical threat from the state.
And he backs it up by weaving in real news items. He mentions Marco Rubio linking visa decisions to social media posts. He mentions the FBI's focus on online anti-Semitism, citing Kash Patel.
So the argument becomes, these NGOs and labs are defining what extremism is, and the government is adopting those definitions.
It puts you, the listener, right in the crosshairs. It's not just that your post got deleted, it's that your opinion is becoming a national security risk. Your post, he says, is a dossier. The system is turning your skepticism into a potential crime.
Okay, so he's built this foundation of fear and validation. He's told you you're a soldier under attack. Now he has to provide the proof.
The proof. The deplatformed martyr.
And he puts all his chips on one central example to prove the information industrial complex is at full power. Sasha Joe.
Better known as Sasha Meets Russia.
Right.
He uses her story as the smoking gun. He points to her being banned from YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok all at once for violating community standards.
And he really emphasizes the scale of it. Channels with 100,000, 300,000 followers. All just gone.
And he asks the audience, whose community standards are these? It's a masterful move. He turns her into a martyr for free speech right before your eyes.
Which confirms everything the skeptic already believes.
Yes.
That the platforms coordinate, that they're censorious, and that anyone they silence must be telling a dangerous truth.
And this is a huge but. This is the punchline the entire segment is designed to hide.
Let's hear it.
While Sasha Joe presents herself as this victimized independent creator, our sources and the wider investigation confirm she's not independent at all.
She works for them.
She is an officially employed, salaried staff member of RT Russia today and has been since March 2023.
And the sources even have her salary, don't they?
They do. 160,000 rubles a month. So she wasn't banned for just, questioning a narrative. She was removed because she is a paid operative of the Russian state media apparatus.
The very same entity that the platforms were legally and politically mandated to remove after 2022.
That changes everything, doesn't it? The platforms weren't censoring free thought. They were enforcing policies against state-funded information operations.
The trick is that Gonzales uses her victimhood to prove the West is censorious while strategically leaving out the single most important fact, her employment.
Exactly. The whole conversation shifts away from her content and her state ties and focuses only on the act of censorship itself, which leads to this incredible inversion of freedom.
He points out that in Russia, Facebook and Instagram are officially labeled as extremist organizations.
And then he says, given what they did to Sasha Joe, that this seems reasonable to him.
Wow. That's the ultimate rhetorical flip.
The Russian state, an entity engaged in total information control, is framed as the rational actor for banning Western platforms because those platforms banned one of their paid employees.
It's the ultimate deflection.
It is. The whole operation runs on what we'd call moral shock absorption. The entire segment is a barrage of Western failures, Western hypocrisy, Western censorship.
And all of that is designed to do what?
It's designed to sell Russia as the alternative, a place of common sense and safety. It absorbs the moral shock of what Russia is actually doing
By hiding it.
by completely avoiding any mention of the reality on the ground in Russia. To sell Russia as a haven of free thought, you can't mention that there's no free press, you can't mention the censored internet, and you definitely can't mention that people get jailed for memes and stickers that go against the state narrative.
So he perfectly mimics the language of Western anti-establishment movements to exploit that distrust. But he only points the finger at Western platforms while completely ignoring the systematic repression and the ongoing war that his own funders are trying to obscure.
It's a textbook case of content laundering and value laundering. They take a value the West holds dear, freedom from censorship, and they use our own failures on that front to distract from their total lack of it.
The goal is to get you so angry at your own institutions that you don't look too closely at the government that's trying to recruit you.
So, if you put it all together, this segment is a perfect blueprint for how a PSYOP works. It's not just about spreading a message, it's about making the target, that skeptical Western listener, feel chosen.
Gonzales's whole argument confirms your distrust. It makes you feel like you're one of the few who really gets it. You're with the real rebels.
And his closing line is the final hook, meant to prepare you for recruitment. He says, if they can do it to anyone, they can do it to you, and they will.
That's pure emotional validation. It frames your distrust as proof that you're on the right side.
And so here's the thought we want to leave you with. The segment is built to weaponize your distrust against this so-called information industrial complex. But if the sources confirm that the speaker, Eddie Gonzales, and his collaborators, like Sasha Joe, are all part of a massive, coordinated, RT-funded network, how do you defend yourself?
How do you protect yourself from a foreign information weapon that asks for your loyalty, maybe even your money, while its key players are cashing paychecks from a state entity? That's the real complex question, isn't it?